victory for EDG. And a lot of fans, as always, and the first thing I have to ask Clear is I saw that you were a lot happier after that win than yesterday. Can you tell me how important it was to get that first win on the board here at Worlds?
经过你们昨天比赛之后呢，今天这场首胜嘛，算是，你觉得这场比赛的胜利对你们意义有多大呢？
昨天就经历了个首败嘛，然后就是队员们还有教练们都意识到自己的一些想法上面的问题，然后今天我们经过讨论之后，今天就是在阵容上面选取做得很好，所以说我觉得就是比赛还是在自己的节奏之内吧，然后赢下比赛肯定是很开心的。
So today is our first win. After the loss yesterday, we went back and we rethought about our whole process and thinking strategy. And we came up with a better team comp today and also a better strategy today. And everyone really played to their own rhythm. That's how we won today.
And it looked a lot better. We also saw you going for that Hecarim, and the LPL seems to be the only region that really prioritizes that Hecarim pick. Can you explain to us why that is?
我们现在世界上看到的，只有 LPL 的赛区是真的是想要看到人马就一定会选人马的。你能解释一下为什么吗？
因为人马这个英雄的话，他的gank成功率特别高，然后他的开团手段也是有的，就在某些阵容里面是可以用的。
So for us, our thought process is that Hecarim is very good at ganking, and his success rate in ganking is super strong. It does only work for certain team comps, and for us, it did work, so we chose him.
It definitely worked today, and it's a very important win. You guys are one of the favorites to win the entire tournament. You had a fantastic year in the LPL, and you were always talking about how you definitely don't want to get knocked out in quarterfinals. Again, can you tell me about your expectations for you personally and as a team this World Championship for EDG?
今年是你 LPL 赛季打得最好的一次成绩嘛？然后你也经常在采访中会提到说想要打破8强这么一个诅咒嘛？所以呢，你接下来你觉得怎么能够打破这个诅咒，然后怎么做些什么样的准备呢？
因为现在就是我们队伍都意识到了自己的问题，我觉得就是现在只要我们的想法改变了，我们还是是一个很强的队伍。所以说目标的话，肯定是我自己的目标就是先度过8强，然后打好每一场比赛，就是我想做的事情。
So for us, our main goal right now is to definitely go past quarterfinals this time. I do think that we are a very strong team. We realize we had some problems, so we're trying to fix those problems and do as best as we can.
Okay, we will see what happens. You have the support of a lot of EDG fans, as always. Thank you very much, Clear Love, and thank you very much, Lexi, for assisting in the translation. After you guys at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Shocks. EDG and LPL fans will be very relieved to have that win in the book, although it did not come easily for them. Let's work our way through this game because there's plenty to discuss, starting with Champion Select here. So as we bring that up, I want to get you guys' thoughts on the two team comps drafted by both these teams.
Well, if you look at the bottom lane, Ash's first pick really early by AHQ quite a lot of the times. They think this is Ann's safest champion in lane. He does have a lot of mistakes on other champions. With Ash, you get the vision control. And they also, this is the first time that Albus has picked Soraka. So you definitely can see the mentality. We don't want EDG's bot lane to win. Now, that was a good thought, but the level 1 definitely just threw that out the window.
We had some real level 1 craziness, but with these team comps that were locked in by both teams, talk to me stylistically how we expect them to play given or within the game.
Right, so we have on one side with EDG a composition that is very, very strong in the mid game. You know, you hit 24s on Hecarim, you get 1 or 2 items on Lucian, the armor penetration items, Ghost Blade and Black Cleaver, and you just buff up this Lucian and you send him in with the Hecarim, and you actually have like an insanely strong composition that can take down almost everything in the mid game, where on the side of AHQ you have much more late game focus. You know, Soraka is a great late game teamfighter, Zillion, protecting the AD carry, Ashe just stacking up multiple items. But it's a composition from AHQ that is very hard to play because it's very hard to get to that late game. And especially obviously when you mess up level 1, you lose your flash, and you then get ganked later by Clearlove, who was all over the map in the early game.
Yeah, and let's not forget the most important part of the conversation is that Mouse is playing a tank. Back in very comfortable territory where he's, you know, just able to farm up. And late game, he was an absolute monster. I mean, there was no one that could really take him down. So even if AHQ got there, it was still hard to execute against the Hecarim, against the Poppy, that just dive your backline over and over again.
Yeah, it's kind of a game where you should get these really long team fights where it's hard to kill the front line on both sides, especially for AHQ with the multiple tanks you talked about. But I really like to see these kind of comps where so many surprises appear. You know, Ashe first rotation is crazy for most people. Soraka is being played against Zilean for Chowie, because it really shows that the meta is not locked yet. It's been a lot of patches. You know, we're very early into this tournament, and it seems like some teams are locked on 1 or 2 picks for each role. I like to see there's multiple ones, especially also down in support where we have like 10 viable picks.
Now we talk about this early game strength for EDG, and of course we saw a couple successful early games from ClearLove, definitely pushing them ahead a bit, but it was 22 minutes into the game when they really found themselves a footing here with a kill in the top lane plus a Baron spawn. Walk me through this one a little bit.
Yeah, and EDG had been pressuring so incredibly well, but you felt that the timer was starting to run out. So Deft opens up, you know, forces them out. And after they've forced one member out, it's just a big go button. Teleports come in, Hecarim's diving the backline, and Mountain gets burned down. Albus is so concerned with running away, doesn't even press his R button there. So this was impressive out of EDG. Not because just they execute and how far they go, but the willingness to take Baron afterwards. This is such a ballsy call to all-in commit at this stage of the game, but they kind of had to do it to open up that mid-game for themselves.
Yeah, we'll see the contest here from AHQ come in. Ziv going to throw down the equalizer. I almost would have liked to have seen him be a little bit more gutsy here and walk himself into the Baron pit.
Yeah, I definitely, but we got to give credit to Mako here and his ulti. You know, Tidal Wave Zova actually stops 2 members, the Rumble being one of them, for entering the Baron pit. And also, you know, Mousy, a good ulti, knocking Chowie away, so that's kind of the safety net. You know, when you do charge into the pit, you get the ulti from Zilean. That was gone. So EDG under pressure here really executed well. 2 ultis used as defensive tools so you can finish the Baron.
And this is what I do want to give Mouse credit for. He's a very poor laner, and he does fall down time and time again.
Credit for that one?
No, but in teamfight situations, he does his role. There's a reason that EDG was able to go 16-0. I'm not saying he's a great player, but don't expect him to get solo killed 5 times every single game, because he can play teamfights to quite a high level, and they like that about the top laner. That's why they swapped him out for Koro, who's a better laner, but his team fights got very, very sloppy, and that's why they lost against RNG.
Let's not forget here, though, that with those early kills that went to ClearLove and that kind of advantage that they were creating for themselves in the bot lane, AHQ reacted phenomenally in their play around the map to pull off that lane swap and really run EDG around the map.
Yeah, exactly. This is what AHQ has been improving on this entire year. Last year, they were just a team that went in and bullfighted all the time. This year, they're actually really smart on the macro play, and you can tell what the difference that Chowie makes in the mid lane. They're able to prolong games, get to the late game better, able to wave clear better, and I think this is a team that, for me, has a lot of mental fortitude. That's something I really like about them. They're never afraid to make fights, they're never afraid to take picks, and they're always looking at how they can get back into the game. They're real fighters.
Yeah, and I want to see more Chowie in the mid lane, because I actually think they looked better early to mid with him, because he was a much better laner than Westor. He didn't fall behind. Yes, okay, he died to 1 gank, but he had a CS advantage already. Mid-game-wise, his Zilean was good. A lot of double bombs coming, actually creating a few picks, as you talked about, you know, near the tower, which gave them a bit of a, not an advantage, but at least slowed down EDG. So I actually think he played better than Westor did yesterday, and I want to see more Chowie.
And were it not for that Baron, I really do think that it could have been a very different game for AHQ. I mean, we saw it just a few minutes later, a small stumble by EDG. We've got to call this one into question. 25-30 into the game. Deficio, walk me through the mechanics of this as EDG is attempting to siege the inner turret bot lane.
Yeah, we're only looking at Deft in this team fight here, because after Mouse got interrupted, what you need to look at now is how Mouse wants to leave the fight, but Deft then says, you know what, I'm going to step in and hit this tower. And that is a massive mistake, because you can see Mountain on your left with the red arrow here. He's already in a good position to flank, and Deft is the main damage dealer. So when he steps forward and gets caught here by the members of AHQ and the equalizer, he's now not really able to do anything, because now we pause it again, and you can see how Deft is making so many mistakes. 1, he's now dashing in with a Zilean bomb on his head near multiple members, and 2, he can only really hit Mountain in this situation, and Mountain will get a Zilean ulti to help him. So now the main damage dealer of EDG stepped too far forward, got caught out, and had to use 2 defensive dashes, and he could only hit the Olaf with the Zilean ulti. So your damage dealer is gone. That means you're going to lose the team fight, and it is very rare we see this from Deft.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, Deft's positioning is normally what we credit him the most for as games go on. And it's an uncharacteristic mistake. However, you can understand with the amount of pressure on a single carry comp playing around a Karma that, you know, he felt like he had to step up and challenge. Maybe it was just Mouse not on the same page, but this definitely prolonged the game for so long.
Axes were definitely a problem for him tonight.
But one thing I do want to credit EDG for is, you know, that game was prolonged, and they made another gutsy call. The Elder Drake is not something that we see played around at all, really, in professional League of Legends at this moment with Baron alive, and they were able to swap their vision incredibly quickly and take 2 team fights off the back end of it that ultimately won them the game. Yeah,
and I think the important thing is that they goaded AHQ to just go inside and get toasted in that red area over there. I'm overall, even though we went 2 games down, I'm pretty proud for the LMS. We showed a lot of macro game. We're the smallest of the 5 regions.
I agree. I think at the end of the day, there were a lot of great things displayed from the AHQ squad, and we kind of identified a few key moments where the game could have completely flipped on its head.
Yeah, and the reason we showed that replay was kind of to highlight where EDG is still making mistakes, because not only had they had a bit of a slow mid game until they got that Baron picked up, then they make a mistake right after, slow sit down again for them. So they have to go really late into the game. You know, we get to 40 minutes before they get that Elder Drake and actually win the last team fight. And EDG in LPL, they've been this powerhouse who would like be super aggressive and really snowball games out of control very quickly. AHQ managed to actually stop that from happening. They played well, but also EDG made some mistakes.
And I do want to go back to the fact that even though we've seen 2 games, I don't think we've really seen how EDG was playing in the LPL, because this time around they're playing very supportive mid laners, which they had gone away from, and Hecarim was a notoriously bad pick for this team. I mean, ClearLove only had a 37% win rate. They nearly lost their set against WE playing that pick in particular before he went back to Rek'Sai and Gragas. So I think this team, they're doing some soul searching. They still are not playing anywhere near their potential, and that's worrying going to the next games because they're not looking their formidable self.
And this is one of those times where I do feel it has warranted us for us to be critical of a player like Deft in that replay that we showed, because he's going to receive player of the game, and that's for the 5-2-3 performance of 39% damage share. We talked about how a lot of this was going to ride on his shoulders and ClearLove's in terms of damage for the team. He shows up and brings home the victory.
I'm actually surprised that's not higher. I mean, yesterday when he's running around with an Aurelia, he gets 36, and he only gets 39 today with a Poppy and a Karma. But he does do very well in the team fights. He's a very good positional AD carry, and his laning phase is beautiful.
He does get a lot of help from his top laner, though, who decides to never deal any damage. So that means his will always go even higher, you know.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, Uzi right now, he's a little bit jealous. He wants Lubo to do less, so he can actually get back up there as well.
I love it, I love it, I love it. Well, with every team having made their debut here at Worlds 2016, let's take a look at how they all stack up. In Group A, CLG and Rox remain at the top. IMA and SKT both own a share of first place in Group B. Group C is tied all the way down the list, each team with a 1-1 record. RNG is out ahead of everyone in Group D. Now, tomorrow's schedule, there's still a lot of league to play out, though, and we'll pick up tomorrow with Group A when they get back on stage, starting with Counterlogic Gaming versus Albus Nox Luna. Then we'll see Korea's Best versus Europe's #1 squad, followed by Flash Wolves versus Cloud9. We'll be back on your browsers tomorrow evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, so do not be late. Now, though, it's time to dim the lights here at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium. Stick around because Worlds Tonight is coming your way in just a few minutes to recap all of the day's action. For myself, the analyst desk, and everyone here covering the 2016 World Championship, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This is when the crowd is hyped up for.